Well, good evening. I'm Larry Souter, and welcome to Stories of Amazing Grace. We're coming to you from Bixter Chapel at the Madison Church of Christ in Madison, Tennessee. An empty Bixter Chapel because of the coronavirus. But we're glad that you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, storiesofamazinggrace.com, and praiseandharmony.tv, and maybe listening on radio. Thank you for being with us tonight. Our theme scripture comes from Romans 8:38 through 39, a new version tonight from the Message. I'm absolutely convinced that nothing living or dead, angelic or demonic, today or tomorrow, high or low, thinkable or unthinkable, absolutely nothing can get between us and God's love because of the way that Jesus, our Master, has embraced us. Well, our guest tonight is one of our members here at the church, and the subject is racial discrimination. The definition for that is racial discrimination is any discrimination against any individual on the basis of their skin color or racial or ethnic origin. Individuals can discriminate by refusing to do business with, socialize with, or share resources with people of a certain group. Well, that's the cold definition of racial discrimination. But unless you have experienced it, it has little meaning and impact on you as a person. My guest tonight, Brenda Jones. She has experienced racial discrimination as a child and as an adult. And I believe she's an example of how a Christian should respond to discrimination. But first, watch this video showing discrimination in Nashville in the year 1960.
Young people, especially students in predominantly black colleges, were inspired to move against the injustices they saw. In the winter of 1960, they began a series of sit-ins at segregated lunch counters in a dozen American cities that refused to serve African Americans.
Come on, get out of here.
We'd never gone down this road before, so there was some concern about what could happen, or what would happen.
A manager would come out and say, "We're just not going to serve you, and you're best getting out because we're going to call the police."
Come on, boy, what you doing in here? Get out of here.
I mean, there was always the uncertainty of what would happen.
Hey, boy.
And you just stay there, and you keep your eyes on the prize. You feel the pain, but you don't become bitter. You don't become hostile. And you sort of lose yourself. You forget about your own circumstances, and you become involved in the circumstances of others. But we were committed to the philosophy and to the discipline of nonviolence.
Brenda Jones, come on up.
All right.
Have a seat. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
We have no audience for applause, so let me give you a little bit here. There you go. Well, we're going to talk about racial discrimination in your life and some in Nashville as well. But first, I want to talk about the glamour Brenda Jones. And not many people knew this, but you were a singer, an actress, an Opryland performer.
Yes.
And let's take a look at some pictures. The first one here. Now, this is a promotion for a record album?
For a record album.
Record company or something?
Yes, I was a model for that.
You were a model?
For
Okay.
that.
What's this here with the leg here?
Now, that's Opryland. That's their costume. When I got the job, I wore their costume. It was in the Dixieland patio, and before we got on the bandstand, on the stage, we had to march down the street with the band, and I had a tambourine, and we marched down the street singing, "Get your blueberries."
Get your blueberries.
Get your blueberries. And I don't remember the rest of it, but it was just, "Get your blueberries."
And this was what year?
This was in 72.
72. How long did you do this?
For about a year. I
Yeah.
just did it for a year. I was in college at that time. Went other places after that.
And
So
you really enjoyed this, I
I
assume.
really did enjoy.
Did you want to go on and major record label or singing?
Well, I wanted to go on. I was I think I liked the stage more.
Yeah.
And I was always in a lot of different plays, and I traveled with the USO show. We did a lot of singing and play acting, did plays there for the troops.
Where did you go?
I went to Germany and Holland, and we were there for a whole month with the TSU drama department.
Not connected with Bob Hope and in his shows?
No, not connected with them.
Okay.
This was one that the education organization that sent us there to entertain the troops for a month.
And you were an actress as well?
Yes, I did some acting. I was in Jake and the Fat Man, movies. I did mostly background, unless they wanted me to be a stand-in for someone else. And I really thought, hey, I was the actor then at that time.
Where did the bug for showbiz come? How early in your life, and who instilled it in you?
Well, actually, I had a cousin that was director at her church, First Baptist Church in East Nashville. And I was about 10 years old, and she was putting on this Christmas play. And she asked me to be the mother in this part. I had a mother, a husband, and a child. And I said, oh, okay, I'll try it, you know. And from then on, after I tried it, and the lines that I had, I seemed to make people laugh, or, you know, they smiled. And I said, look at this. I can make people, you know, smile and be happy. Or then I said, well, they can be sad too. So I said, I think I might like this. I was about 10 years old, 10 or 11. And from then on, I just started getting into a lot of school plays. And I really enjoyed those a lot too. Musicals and dramas, comedy shows, and it was just fun.
So sitting up here on stage is nothing to you, is it? You really relish this, don't you?
Well, it's really been a while, yeah. I'm a little bit nervous, but usually when I get on stage, I'm okay.
Yeah. But you enjoyed the feedback from the crowd. Of course, you have no crowd
I
here.
do. There's no crowd.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Just being on the stage is something that I could do anytime without even being paid for
Right.
it. That's how I knew I had the passion for it. I didn't care if I got paid for it or not. It was just something in me that wanted to just be, I guess, in the limelight.
Well, you came to the right place, because we don't pay anything here.
I know.
Well, I can relate a little bit about the acting. I did some in college, and I'm a shy person. I'm an introvert,
Oh,
actually. So this is an outlet
Okay.
for me, and acting was an outlet in college, which I didn't do any acting in high school, but I did in college. Had some lead roles, and I really enjoyed that. It was just a place where I could shine and maybe be something I'm not. I don't know, but
well, it just makes you feel, you know, I don't know, it just gives you an opportunity to express someone else's
right.
feelings and thoughts, the writer's thoughts, and what they portray, what they want you to portray. And I also acted in college. I had a lot of lead roles. I was Antigone in the play Antigone. I did Barefoot in the Park and as the mother. I did several plays at Tennessee State. And then we traveled a lot and had competitions, and we would win. So
Right. And you're right about the feedback from the audience. That means a lot when
it really does.
whether they're crying or laughing or clapping or whatever.
Right. And that's the purpose of it.
Right.
It also helps people to look deep into themselves to see, hey, do I agree with that or do I not? Or what do I think about that? Oh, I like that. You know, it brings a lot of thoughts to your mind. Oh, how sweet she is. Oh, this and that. But it's a lot of emotions in it, good and bad. Some are sad, depending on the show that you're in. And but I like doing that a lot. I like acting on the stage, and then later on, I started, as I said, doing background work in some movies. Jake and the Fat Man. I did about 10 or 11 episodes with them when I lived in Hawaii.
Now, back to Opryland, Johnny Cash came to visit. Tell me that story.
Yeah, Johnny Cash came to sit down at my, in my show, and he just sitting there and just was really enjoying himself until people started recognizing who he was. He and June were there, and so while I was singing, he had to stand up and. He didn't want to take anything away from my show, so people were coming over wanting to get his autograph, and he just stood up and said, sorry, like, and then he just walked away, but I kept on with my show. There were several people who stayed, but a lot of, some people just tried to follow him, and then I don't know where he disappeared to, but.
He was a star, but at the same time, he recognized
Yes.
the performers at
Yes,
Opryland.
that's what actors do, and stars do. You don't try to take something from someone else's, don't take the glory from them or whatever you call it. But, yeah.
Well,
He was
besides
there.
acting, singing, you went on and got a master's in education. Is that correct?
In education.
And
yeah.
you taught school,
I taught school for 11 years.
elementary.
Elementary.
How was that? You enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it. It gave me a chance to act, too.
So you're a pretty smart person, aren't you?
I don't know about that. But it did give me a chance to teach children through acting and helping them to be creative and to see things a different way, how to learn. I taught second grade, kindergarten, and third grade, and I had taught fourth grade also. But I always tried to use some of my creative skills that were already there in me to teach them, and they would learn it, So I always try to make it interesting for them.
How many years did you teach?
11.
11 years. Wow. Let's move on to your family a little bit. I think we got some, well, I've got a headshot here. Let's go back to that headshot. This is what you used to try to get jobs, right?
Right.
At the time.
Right. That was taken in Hawaii.
Okay.
And
How long were you in Hawaii?
a total of 6 years.
Okay.
Milton was an air traffic controller.
Right.
And we traveled around. And Hawaii was one of our places, and we decided to stay there a little longer.
I can understand.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to your other picture here. This is your father and mother.
My father and mother, they were so precious and just so giving and loving and really teaching us how to treat one another and how to treat other people, and they worked together on that. They were married for over 50 years, and we just had fun with them.
Now, he was a nurse?
My dad was a nurse at the VA, and my mother was a housekeeper, and most of the time she stayed at home with the kids while we were young. When we were younger, there were 6 of us, 3 girls and 3 boys,
Okay.
and one of the boys passed
Oh, I'm sorry.
years ago. But we used to have fun together with our parents. They loved to play around with us, and my dad, he loved to dance. He had his own little special dance that it was like it was a way for him to just let go of everything else that was going on in the world and just enjoy his children and, his family. And
So he would just dance by himself in the living room, or what?
in the living room, no, he would call us, come on, Brenda. He called me Brenda Kay. Come on, Brenda Kay, let's dance with me. I said, okay, Daddy, so I would go in and dance with him. And then sometimes he would have some friends over, and his best friends, and they would ask me to sing a song. And there was one of his friends that had a favorite song, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
Right.
And he would ask me to sing that song every time he came over. And sometimes I would just hide. I said, I'm not singing that song again. But I did anyway because he loved Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. And then after I did that, and then, as kids, we had to get out of the room, go do your thing, go to your room or, go somewhere else. But it just seemed like the older people didn't like young kids hanging around them all the time. And then it didn't matter. But, we would go in and speak and perform for them, whatever and just go on about our business. After that, it was like, okay, show's over.
Right. Let's move on to racial discrimination. I want to show you some shots here of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
This is back when, before malls, Rivergate Mall and Opry Mills and other places, and Nashville was the big deal for shopping downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And Woolworths is on the left over here.
Woolworths. Mm-hmm.
We're going to have you talk about that a little bit later, but I just want to kind of identify. This is Fifth Avenue, I believe. The next shot here is Church Street. I remember some of the movie theaters and Kane Sloan and Castronaut and some other stores that were down there during that time. This is kind of how it looked during your era of growing up in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad side of Nashville is this sit-in marker. 124 students from Nashville historically black colleges and universities walked into Woolworths. Cress and McClellan's sat down at lunch counters, asked to be served, to no avail. So that was a sad time in Nashville, and there's still, of course, things going on today that are very sad. You were not a part of this, though, sit-ins in Woolworths yourself, were you?
No, I was probably about 10 years old.
But you had an experience going into Woolworths.
Yes, I did.
Tell me about that.
Yes. Well, usually on the weekend, my mother would take my sister and I to the downtown, and we would go shopping for clothes and for other little things. And one day we went into Woolworths, and we saw this man that was standing there at the door, and we thought he was a greeter, like they have Walmart greeters now. And he said, he was telling all the white people that were going in before us, "Howdy, neighbor. Howdy, neighbor." Then when he got to us, he said the N-word, "Howdy," the N-word, And we looked up at him, but my mother just held her head up high, and she just kept right on walking. She didn't say anything to him, not hello or nothing. And my sister, she just really stood there and just watched. And I said, "Come on, let's go." We just walked on. And to me, she taught me you don't have to retaliate whenever somebody says something that hurts your feelings. You can walk away from it. And, a real good example of that, what she did, I wrote down something that I found, and it reminded me of my mother's attitude towards when people hurt you so much. It says, "When other people treat you poorly, walk away, smile, and keep being you. Don't ever let someone else's bitterness change the person you are." And that made me, I don't know, it just made me feel so much better. That was my mother's whole attitude. And when I saw this, I said, that sounds like what Mama was teaching us. You continue to be who you are no matter what someone is saying to you, how hurtful it might be. You just hold your head up and you rise up above that.
How old were you during this time?
I'm thinking that I was about 11. Next week, we didn't see him there, so I don't know if someone saw that or if he was just standing there just greeting people at that particular time. I don't know if he was part of Woolworth and they placed him there or not. But we didn't like that, and it did bother my sister and me. It just bothered us a lot. But it was like Mama, I don't know, I just saw something different in her. She just was straight and had dignity, and she just walked away. And this little thing here that I found, it reminded me of her and how she handled that situation, because I was getting a little upset. I wanted to say something to him. Why did you call us that? Why did you say that to us? And I wanted to say, it takes one to know one.
Is that a word you had heard before?
Yes, I've heard it, of course.
Okay.
Yes, it was everywhere.
Okay. I thought maybe that was the first time or something.
Oh, no. It's the fact that he greeted us that way.
Yes.
He greeted them differently than he
Yes, I
greeted
understand.
us. That's what I
Right.
meant by that.
Meg's school. Did you teach there? Or
No.
You sent me a picture.
Oh.
Tell me about this.
This is 1963. Someone sent it to us, one of our alumni sent that picture. These were the people they were protesting also, and then you can see just the white man's arm there.
Yes.
And he was saying something to him that made this young man want to fight, and the other man, and they were holding each other back like, no, let's not fight, But I don't know what the conversation was, but you can look at and see it was kind of intense for some to get upset. And at Meg's, there was one time during the protest, they had someone came from downtown to try to gather up all the kids and bring them out of school, get them out of school to go protest. This is for your freedom. You have a right to say what you don't like. You have a right, to protest if you want to protest. But I would look out the window and I would see him. He said, I see you looking out the window. Come on down here and fight for your freedom, And I was going like, I want to go. But I didn't tell my mom I wanted to go or my dad I wanted to go. And I knew that they didn't want us to be in a lot of ruckus or anything, so I didn't go. But I had a cousin that went. And she said her daddy didn't mind her going. But I had all these things running through my mind. What if something happens while I'm down there?
Right.
And then my parents would be very, very upset at me or at someone else because I went against their rules. They were pretty strict about things, and we just obeyed. We didn't try them too much, but we did try them, and we got what we would do. But we just didn't try to go too far.
But you kind of wanted to go. You kind of wanted to go.
I did.
Yeah.
I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I wanted to go, but I knew in the back of my head something was saying, did your mama say it's okay to go? Did your daddy say you can go? What if something happens, and how will they feel? You will hurt them, and I got all these things in my mind, so I just didn't go. I sat there in the chair at my desk, and I kind of cried a little bit. And I really wanted to be there with them. And then I thought about, well, what time will I get back home? Will I get back to school in time to catch my bus? Who's going to get me home? Because my dad had already gone to work by the time we got out of school. So I just let it go.
Tell me about a situation at your home where some people threw eggs or something.
Oh, yeah. This was in the late 60s, and my brothers and sisters and I and some friends were sitting on the porch, and we were just having a good time. We were just sitting out talking and just encouraging one another, or we just had conversations about a little bit of everything, about the world, about this and that. And we noticed this truck that kept coming up the street there, and he would come by pretty fast, and he would kind of look over at us, and we saw that it was a white man in the truck. Mm-hmm. And next time, he came back the second time. It took him a little while to come back, but he came back the second time, and there were some kids in the car with him, in the truck, in the back of the truck, and he stopped the car, and they stood up, and they threw eggs at us. Well, we ran to go in the house, and I asked, did anybody get hit? Is everybody okay? And my brother said, yeah, they hit me in the back with an egg. And I said, okay. And I wanted to go look for them, but we knew that they would hide somewhere, or they would probably be gone. But we just let that go, and we told our parents about it. They said, you don't be afraid to be out on your porch ever and to be with your friends. You just pray for those people and you move on.
Pray and move on.
Pray and move on.
Wow. This next shot here is a water fountain. Did you experience this growing up?
I didn't, but I did see that when I taught in Somerville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
They still had those fountains like
Really?
that. But I never saw either white or black go over to either one of those. And then I also saw signs that said at a laundromat for whites only. And I'm going like, what kind of town is this?
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the early 70s. And it was something. It was really ironic to me that we would go to a place in that time to see this kind of thing still going on, Jim Crow laws still being, practiced.
We got a shot here of a Crystal hamburger window. You had an experience with Crystal hamburgers.
Yes, I did.
Tell me what happened. And the sign says, separation is our salvation.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about.
And hamburgers were 10 cents, so my mother would buy a lot of hamburgers.
Right.
And they would smell good up and down that street. They were, and we would always, when we left Woolworths or Kane Sloan, we shopped a lot at Kane Sloan. And when it was time for us to go home and go catch our bus, we would stop by Crystal's and we would get hamburgers. But one day I stood in front of the counter and I wanted to sit down. I kept looking around and I wondered, why didn't Mama want to sit down and eat? And, so when it was the time for us to get served, the lady came over and she said, you all have to stand over here for me to wait on you, for me to serve you. And I looked up at her. So Mama didn't say anything. I think Mama was kind of used to that already, but we weren't.
I see.
My sister and I weren't. And so she didn't say anything. She ordered the hamburgers. And when we walked out of the place, I said, Mama, why is it that we couldn't stand in front of the counter and serve? Or why couldn't we sit at the counter or sit at the tables? And so I said, she didn't say anything. And I just said, well, I think that if that's what they're going to do, if we have to stand to the side and we can't get served sitting down or standing in front of the counter, then I don't think we need to support them. And the next time we went downtown, I wanted some hamburgers, but my mother walked right by the place.
Yeah.
And the hamburgers were smelling really good.
Right.
But I still remember that hurt. It hurt me that I was being treated different, than other people differently. And it was just one of those things that you soon just find other things to do to get it off your mind. So we started hooking. They had a little loom thing where we would make these pot holders and all, and we would get busy doing that. Or we would go out and play and pretend we were actors or pretend we were singers or something. And that seemed to ease our mind. It was music and acting and just being creative, kind of just,
A distraction.
Yeah, it was a distraction from that.
So rise above, walk away,
You
pray
rise
about it,
above, you walk
have
away.
distractions.
Yes.
These are all
Yes.
solutions to the racism problem that you deal with.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, yes. And you smile. You smile. You don't even let them know it bothered you.
Except when you smell those hamburgers.
When I smell those hamburgers, I really wanted them.
Right.
But later on, it took me a while to really go to Crystal's after all of that had happened and I
Yes.
was older. It took me years to go in there and buy a hamburger.
Right.
Not even to just go inside, but to just drive through. I wouldn't do it because I had that hurt. I had that memory in me that just stayed there. And I said, hey, I've got to get over this. Those hamburgers were really good, And so one day I did decide to just go up there, and I said, okay. I took a deep breath, and I went inside, and it seemed to be okay. I saw some black people in there waiting on us, the cashiers, and the people were cooking. It was a mixture, black and white, because things were more integrated then. And I bought the crystals, and when I took a bite of that crystal, I said, I wasted all that time. It doesn't even taste like it used to. Wow. But it was the same one, but just as a young kid, I enjoyed it more.
Martin Luther King said, "It is appalling that the most segregated hour in America is 11 o'clock on Sunday morning." Have you experienced that?
Yes, I have.
Why is that?
I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I used to question that all the time. Why do we go to an all-black church, and then all other people, or white people, go to all-white church? And why, if God said we are to be united and to be one and to love one another, why aren't we doing that? I don't see that happening. So I had a lot of questions. At my young age and my older age, I still didn't get it. And it was just a thing that, that's just the way things are. But things don't have to be like that. And I would go to my Bible and I say, God didn't say that we're supposed to be divided. If we are his children, we are to be united. And if we are united, no matter what color we are, then that lets other people know that we have the love of God in us. So to me, it became a heart problem. God can fix your heart if you want him to, but you have to want that. His Holy Spirit can come and live in you and reveal him to you if you want him to. It's just a choice you make. Either you do or you don't. Either you follow him or you don't follow him, And I couldn't understand why we had to go to an all-black church and all white people went to all white churches. And then I remember reading about there were times in school where we read about blacks could go to a white church, but they had to sit up in the balcony. And I'm going like, well, why couldn't they just mingle in with everybody else? We're all God's children. He's no respecter of persons. We are his. And nobody can change that. No matter how we hate people because of the color of their skin, who can change that? No one. We just go through the motions of whatever Satan is telling us. See, that's how he deceives us. He tells us, oh, you don't have to be bothered with them. You don't have to go over there. Let them sit over there. And, hey, we sit over here in the nice area. That's not what he said. You treat everybody the same in the way you want to be treated.
Some may bring up the excuse that the African American people enjoy a certain style of worship and white people enjoy a certain style of worship. Is that a legitimate argument?
I don't know if it's an argument. I think it's just one of the little standard things because we all do. For me, I enjoy all music. And it doesn't have to be all one thing. I think it should be blended, that we should have a little bit of spiritual hymns and some, just spiritual songs and hymns, a mixture, so that we can, we want to encourage everybody and not just stick with one format, one type of songs, singing, And I think if we had a variety. If you notice God's world, there's a variety in everything, a variety in trees and animals and people. And he saw that it was good. So who are we to change what he saw was good? He created it. He created heaven and earth and everything in it. So who are we to take that away from someone else just because they don't look like us, they don't have the money we have, they don't live in a big, nice house, or they don't have the friends that we have. I mean, we are human beings. If you pull our skin back, you peel it back, we're going to look the same. If I cut you, you cut me, we're going to bleed red blood. It's his blood. We didn't make ourselves. We didn't make the area where we are. He put us here in America. He put us in Nashville, Tennessee. He placed us where he wanted us to be, and he's going to have his way whether we like it or not. We can try to change. We can hate. We can dislike people, whatever all the little evil things that's not necessary, but bring strife and turmoil to others and torment. What are you fearing? It comes from fear. He did not give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and love and of a sound mind. So we have to be reasonable with one another. We have to look at one another as we would our own family member or someone that we love so dearly. And that's the way God wants us to be. He wants us to love each other. Doesn't matter what we look like. And when we lived in Hawaii, there was a melting pot of people there. And we felt so comfortable in there because we felt like we fit in, because nobody was all the same color. And the culture that was there were lessons to learn from other people, and they learned from us. And we miss out on a lot of goodness that God intended for us to have, the abundant life, because we don't want to experience something from other people, other cultures. And we need to open up to that and say, hey, okay.
So we got our cliques and...
Yeah, we do have cliques. Yeah, there are cliques. And don't be afraid when a group of black people are together. They're not trying to cook up something wrong to start a riot or to hurt somebody. We're just enjoying each other, just like everybody else does, And I've also heard someone say one day, well, why do all black people sit together? I wish they didn't do that. Well, why do all white people sit together? That's my answer, my reply.
Right.
But we just have to have a heart for one another and respect for one another, for who we are, and not what you see on the outside, but find out about the inside person.
Is that the one thing the white folks should do?
I think black and white, in whatever color.
Doesn't make a difference.
Any prejudices you have against someone else because of the way they look, their hair or whatever, what color their eyes or whatever, we all need to look into our heart. It's a heart problem. And it needs to be fixed, and only Jesus can fix it. The Holy Spirit can fix it if we want it fixed.
Do only whites have racial prejudice, or do blacks, are they prejudiced?
Yeah. Yes.
In what way?
Yes. Blacks are prejudiced because if someone does not like, if someone is looking down upon them, I can't speak for every black on this, but I think that if they don't want to be bothered with us, then we don't want to be bothered with them. If that's prejudice, then that's what it is. We're not going to force ourselves on you. Either you do or you don't. We're going to be kind to you. We're very compassionate people, but don't stereotype us with the ones who choose not to be compassionate. We should not be stereotyped. And not everybody, not every white person is like that either. It's prejudice. Not every black person is prejudiced. But I think we need to just look at our heart. That's what the matter is. The whole matter of the thing is the heart, and how we want to be perceived, how we finding favor in treating someone badly because they look different than us. How are we excelling, or how are we progressing because we are comparing ourselves to someone else. You compare yourself to yourself and not to someone else. God made you for a purpose, His purpose. And you compare yourself with who you are. Are you better today than you were yesterday? You know? Or can you be better tomorrow than you are today? You know? And I think we lose sight of that because we get so comfortable and so familiar with being ridiculed or hurt or talked about. And some people are just rebellious. Some people are just arrogant. Some people are just, we all have these qualities that are not good, and we have some good qualities or habits. But it takes 30 days to break a habit if you want to. Some say 21 days, and it might be 21 days for some people. But 30 days, you practice being kind to someone that is not like you, or just speaking to someone. You don't know what kind of day they're having. Just your smile might brighten their day. Just your hello might say, hey, it might make them feel like, hey, that person spoke to me. I'm somebody. God didn't make no junk, as the saying goes.
You're a person of color. I guess I'm a person of color in a sense.
Sure.
White color.
Yeah.
You have some whites in your family background. Is that
Yes.
correct? Tell me about that.
Well, yes, we do. On my mother's side, on her mother's side, and her father's side. There's some people named Lanes, the Lanes in which they were supposed to have been rich people way back then, because they didn't have but $2,000. Of course, that means nothing to us now. And one of my cousins said, well, it didn't mean anything to me because he didn't give us any of it.
Right.
But we were at an age now that, that 2000 was nothing. But then we also have been told and found in some records that we're related to Albert Gore's family. And they have some things written in a Bible that we don't know anything about. And I went downtown to the archives in the library to find some information. I couldn't find it. I did give a little bit about it, but then it had on there the rest of the information is in a Bible. But we traced someone, one of the men, who had his black son. He took him on the cavalry with him. He went to the cavalry with him, and he protected him, but he was teaching him how to fight and all. And we learned quite a little bit about that, but there's probably more that we could find.
How do you feel, you see on the news the discrimination against blacks many times by the police. How do you feel driving your vehicle and a police car comes up behind you with the lights on as a person of color? Is there a different feeling that you have?
No, I just say, what did I do now? Did I speed? I don't look at it as color. I don't just jump at color like that because, not unless they treat me wrong, then I'll know the difference. But if
But
I'm being,
you've heard the stories the other way where a person is pulled over and they feel like that, the police was going to pull a gun on them or going to shoot them or something.
Right. Well,
But you don't feel that way.
I don't.
Okay.
But some people may feel that way because it's been done.
Right.
And it's still being done. And we just don't, you just never know. It makes you nervous. I pray for my family all the time, as well as I pray for myself that we don't run into a bad cop. We support the cops. We support the police, but and the firemen and all the first responders and all, we support them. But we just don't want to be mistreated by them.
Sure.
But there's a bad apple in the bushel there somewhere. But you have to just pray about it and just say, oh Lord, I hope nothing bad happens here. You promised to never leave me or forsake me. The scriptures start coming to my mind. But if someone did pull me over one time out here in this parking lot, they said I didn't have my tags. Well, I had information that I had my tags, but I don't know if they were stolen or what. And but they didn't give me a ticket. But when the lady pulled me over, I didn't worry about her mistreating me. That was the least thing. I said, well, I did something wrong. I said, I don't think I was speeding. But then she explained to me that I didn't have my updated tag on my car. And so she was
This was
telling
the police and not church security here, right?
No,
Okay.
it was not church security, no.
Just checking.
No, not
You never
church
know about
security.
church security here.
Oh, man. My husband just thinks church security is everything. And if he sees something on TV, like the incident that happened today, he said, oh, they need Madison church security to come down. I said, yeah, right.
Well, we're about to wrap up here. Any other words you'd like to share about how to rise above discrimination?
Well, basically, remember what my mother said. You don't let someone else pull you down or pull you away from who you are. If you really have the heart of God, you want to respect and unite with your brothers and sisters. We are to be different than the outside world. We're supposed to be bringing them in. And with our behavior, that can happen. With our attitude, that can happen. If we really want to, we just have to make up our minds to do it. And it can't just be one-sided, or do it one day or 1 week. It has to be an ongoing thing, showing love and respect for our differences and showing that, hey, kindness and God's way goes a long way.
Is there something the church can do collectively to improve the situation?
I think that when we used to have the dinners, and I refer back to Hawaii, we used to have Aloha Sundays. Every first Sunday, we would have a dinner, and that gave everybody a chance to sit down and eat together and talk to one another. And we'd go from table to table, meeting people that we hadn't met before, or just to get to know the people. And we would always try to plan activities where church members could be together. And we do that a lot here too, though. We reach out to the community, and people who want to participate in that, they do participate in it. But I think that here at this church, I think we just, if we just pray together, we try to learn more about one another. And there's some classes that were going on about Be the Bridge, I think it was. And I think things like that, it has to be some type of awareness. Sometimes people are just not aware because they're so used to what they were brought up under. So if we just make everyone aware that, yes, we are different, but yes, we are God's children. We are royalty. He has blessed us all, and He wants to give us more, but we need to have a pure heart. We need to be pure in heart, and we have to work on that ourselves with the Holy Spirit, with the leading of the Holy Spirit. Work on that, and then come together with your brothers and sisters, being real and being respectful and try to be more understanding, because we were not all brought up in the same way, in the same surroundings, so.
We're all different, that's good.
We're all different, and that's good. God saw that it was good. He wanted it that way, but He wanted us to love one another too, and to show that love so that others will know that we belong to Him.
Appreciate you being with us, sharing your story. Martin Luther King Day is coming up this month, and he said this: we must learn to live together as brothers or perish. as fools. Pretty wise saying there. Well, thank you for being with us as well on Stories of Amazing Grace, and we ask that you would share your story of amazing grace with someone you know this week to encourage them to live a life that is closer to God. Thank you for being with us, and for our empty audience, hopefully you're watching at home. Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Thank you.